The Third Testament, Revelations of Jesus Christ, Chapter 53. The time of judgment has arrived. Spoken by Pascal. The gathering of the harvest sown by man. O my beloved disciples, these are times of justice for mankind. The time is up for you to begin to settle your accounts. You are reaping the harvest of previous sowings, the result or consequence of your deeds. There is a time for man to perform his acts, and another in which he must answer for what he has done. The time in which you live is the latter. That is why all of you suffer and weep, just as you have one time to sow and another to reap. So too God has conceded to you one time to comply with his law, and another in which he will manifest his justice. You are living in the face of divine justice. Pain makes you weep. Humanity purifies itself through its own lamenting, because no one is exempt from restitution. These are times of justice in which you must meditate over your destiny, so that through meditation and spiritually you will listen to the voice of the conscience, which does not confuse nor deceive, but it guides you along the path of peace. This is the time of judgment for humanity. My divinity judges men, villages, and nations one by one. Nevertheless, men have not become aware of that, nor do they know the time in which they live. That is why I have come in spirit, manifesting myself through human spokesmen. Through them I have revealed to you who it is that speaks, the time in which you live, and what your mission is. Verily, I say to you, you are living in the day of the Lord. You are already under his judgment. The living and dead are now being judged. Past and present deeds are being weighed in this scale. Open your eyes so that you can be witnessed that divine justice is being felt everywhere. Since olden times, I have spoken to you about a judgment, and this is the time announced which the prophets represented as if it were one day. The word of your God is that of a king, and it stands firm. What does it matter that thousands of years have passed since then? The will of the Father is unchangeable and must be fulfilled. If men, besides believing in my word, also knew how to pray and keep vigil, they would never be taken off guard. But they are unfaithful, forgetful, unbelieving, and when the ordeal takes place, they attribute it to punishment, vengeance of the ire of God. To which I say to you, that every ordeal is announced with anticipation, so that you will be prepared. Therefore, you should always remain vigilant. The flood, destruction of the cities by fire, invasions, plagues, sickness, scarcity, and still more ordeals were foretold to all the peoples of humanity, so that you would be prepared and not be surprised. In the same way today, the love of God always has sent a message of alertness, of preparation, so that men will awaken, prepare themselves, and be strengthened. I tell you that, although it is certain that very great trials await this world, the days of pain shall be shortened, for so great will be their bitterness that they shall cause men to awaken, to turn their eyes to me, and to listen to the voice of conscience, that urges them to compliance with my law. It shall be my justice that trims all of evil that exists in the world. Before that, I shall scrutinize all, religions, sciences, and institutions. The sickle of divine justice shall sweep through, separating the wheat from the chaff. The good seed that remains in the hearts of men, I shall leave to give birth in the spirit of humanity. Purification of humanity through the judgment. How long will it take for humanity to evolve to where it will understand my love and feel my presence through its conscience? When humanity obeys my law and hears my voice advising it, that will be an indication that humanity has left behind the eras of materialism. In the meantime, mankind will still have to be touched by the elements of nature in different ways, until they are convinced that superior forces exist and that man's materialism is highly inferior to those forces. The earth will tremble, water will cleanse, and fire will purify humanity. All of the elements and forces of nature will make themselves felt throughout the world where human beings have not known how to live in harmony with the life which surrounds them. However, nature does not seek the destruction of those who disrespect it. It only seeks harmony between man and all creatures. If nature is manifesting its justice in a harsher manner, it is because the faults of man and their lack of harmony with its laws are also greater. The hand of man has unleashed justice on himself. Within his brain there is a whirlwind, in his heart a storm, and all of this is manifested as well in nature in its unleashed elements, its inclement seasons, the plagues that appear and multiply. It is because your sins grow, producing illnesses, and science, reckless and senseless, does not recognize the order established by the Creator. If I only told you this, you would not believe it. It is necessary that you feel the results of your actions for you to be deceived. You are precisely in that moment of your life in which you will see the results of all that you have sown. Life on earth has always been one of testing and atonement for man. However, this road of evolution has never been so full of bitterness. In these times, men do not wait for maturity to begin the struggle. How many children there are who know disillusion, the yoke, beatings, stumbles, and failure. I can say more. In these days, the pain of man begins before birth, in the very mother's womb. Great is the atonement of those beings who today come to the earth. But you must remember that all the pain that exists in the world is the work of men. What greater perfection could my justice have then to permit those who sowed these thorns on the road of life to come now and harvest them? You cannot understand my entire plan of universal redemption, but I give you to know a part of it, so that you may take part in my work. Only I know the importance of the moment the world is living. No human can manage to understand the reality of this hour. Humanity, from its beginnings, has accumulated stain upon stain until it has clouded their feelings and their spirit, creating for them a life of sickness, sadness, and turbulence. But the hour of purification has been signaled. The time of the harvest has come for each spirit, and that is why you behold confusion among men. Yet, I tell you truly, that amidst that chaos, each person shall reap what they have sown. And what shall become of my children who have always failed before my law? Truly, to all those who slumber without wishing to analyze, without studying my lessons, the trials shall come like a whirlwind that makes them fall, while to those who have obeyed my teachings, it shall come as an encouragement to compliance, like a beautiful prize awarded by God. In this time, those not prepared to renew themselves shall know the greatest bitterness, and shall be raised from the earth, losing thereby a precious opportunity to atone for their faults and reconcile. In contrast, those who pass from this mansion to the spiritual mansion, with the peace and satisfaction given by a duty fulfilled, feel illuminated by my light. And if they are among those who must reincarnate again, I will prepare them for their return to human life, so that they may be brought clean again into life, with greater spirituality, and greater wisdom. The love of God in the judgment. Pain has spilled itself fully over the world, making itself felt in thousands of ways. With what speed you live, humanity, how laboriously you amass your daily bread. That is why men are consumed prematurely, women age before their time, young women are worn out at their very flowering, and the children become hard-hearted at a tender age. It is a time of pain, of bitterness, and of trials that you live today. But I wish you to find peace, achieve harmony, and reject pain. That is why I present myself in spirit and send you my word, which is the gentle dew of consolation, a balsam and peace for your spirit. Hear my word, which is the resurrection and the life. In it you will recover faith, health, and the joy in struggling and existing. Today is the time of great restitution for the spirit. My judgment has been opened, and the works of each one have been placed in the balance. If that judgment seems great and sorrowful for the spirits, with them stands he who before being judge is Father and who loves them. They are enveloped too in the love of your intercessor Mary. Humanity, my justice has arrived to judge man. It has come to humble man's pride and make him realize how small he truly is when he sins and when he lives a life filled with materialism. Yes, people, I come to strip the false greatness from man, for I wish him to see the light and be elevated, so that he may become truly great, because I wish you to be full of light, elevation, goodness, power, and wisdom. Humanity does not recognize me and denies my presence in this time, but I shall make them recognize that my justice manifests itself in love and charity, and that I do not come with the whip to cause them pain, but to raise them up to a life of grace and purify them with the crystal clean water that is my word, the truth. The world has not learned my teaching and has sustained its idolatry and fanaticism. That is the reason that today passes through the great crucible, draining the cup of bitterness, for their materialism has distanced them from me. Humanity these days, divided in peoples, races, languages, and colors, receives from my divine spirit its part of justice. The trials that correspond to each, the struggle, the crucible, and the restitution that for each man and each race I have waiting for them. You know that justice has love as its principle, that the trials sent man by the Father are evidence of love, that all leads to salvation, to good, even when in those trials there seems to be misfortune, misery, and fatality. Behind all of this is life, the protection and redemption of the Spirit, and the Father, waiting always to hold out His arms with the greatest love for His prodigal Son.